Howdy up, you delicious people. I'm here today to review Spider-Noir, the first two episodes. For those of you that have probably already gone on and binge-watched this whole entire season, and are still looking for Spider-Noir content, I would recommend stuff like The Rocketeer, or even stuff like there's a Batman show that came out a long time ago, called Birds of Prey, and that kind of feels like this kind of show in a way. Even though it's kind of a DC thing and it's a Batman kind of show. But it's not even to have Batman in it, like briefly. If anything, they focus on the Huntress, but it's kind of a similar kind of show. But anyways, or also you can go on and seek out the game called Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions. A game that has Spider-Noir, but also a variety of other Spider-Man within it. And it's actually a pretty good game. I actually like the story and I like the video game. But if anything, some people may go on and probably have their feelings about that game and whatever have you. I'm saying like, hey, that's your best option to get more Spider-Noir content besides Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Oh, the guy going on and having the Rubik's Cube. Oh, I'm going to figure this out at some point, right? Like, that's that guy. So Spider-Noir, the first two episodes, I feel is to be true to the Spider-Man character. And I could say the only downside, I think, of this episode is to really have it be that Silvermane is the bad guy in this show, which I'm like, he basically feels like a kingpin. Like, he really is a character that I don't give a rip about. I've never seen any Spider-Man comic book where I've given a about Silvermane. I really have never have. So somebody has to point out to me a comic book where Silvermane actually is to matter, because I've never seen it so. But anywho, so we go on in this story, and I feel that Ben Reilly is trying to avoid being the Spider, because Ben Reilly is just trying to go on and just trying to live the rest of his life and hope that everything is to be just another normal day, and he can go on and be able to pay his phone bill and and continue to just have these detective jobs. And so Ben Reilly goes on to this one case where he's going on and seeking out this guy named Addison, who will come to find had come back from the military, as well as a number of other guys had come back from the military, changed and mutated. And we'll have this guy Addison that I think a lot of people probably think that this is some weird variation of Human Torch, but some people may not know about the Spider-Man villain Molten Man. That's immediately what came to mind when I was going on and looking at Addison. Like, is this kind of an offshoot of Molten Man? Is there any other fire villain that I'm not thinking of that this isn't matched to? But anyways, so after there's the dealing with Addison, in the aftermath of that, Ben Reilly is to go on and realize that Addison had been involved with the burning down of Silvermane's home. And it kind of gets to the unraveling of anyone going on and being involved in what is to happen with Addison. And then in turn, Silvermane is also going after people like Cat Hardy, going on and also maybe even having something connected with Morris, because there's some kind of story that I think is going to unravel at some point in the show where we're to figure out what Cat Hardy and Morris, that governor or that character guy, what they were talking about in the early parts of this. Because we have in the first episode where a guy named uh Carmody goes on and makes his way to Ben, going on and saying, "Hey, yeah, I think my wife is cheating around. She has this schedule that she's going on and meeting this guy at this hotel. I want to figure out what's going on." And so Ben is like, "Okay, like, well, Janet explains that Ben is an ace photographer, and he'll get you the photos that you need." So Ben goes on and seeks this out and finds that Cat Hardy is with this government official. And Riley wants nothing to do with this. He's like, yeah, this is probably gonna be radioactive if I have this, so I may as well go on and get rid of these photos or I'm gonna die keeping them. So by the end of the first episode, we find out that Flint Marko is to be involved in this first episode. Sandman is to be in the first episode. For those of you that are wanting to figure out, is this interesting enough? In the first freaking episode, we have Sandman. Heck yeah, watch this show. So by the end of the first episode, we come to find that Ben is being stalked and followed by Sandman because he wants the negatives of the photos. He wants to basically just kill Ben by the end of this episode because he knows too much. So Ben has to go on and finally, and I'm not quite sure if Ben Reilly's webs are organic, if they're coming from him, like Tobey Maguire's, or if he has web shooters. That wasn't exactly explained at some point in this show. Like, I don't see him have web shooters, or I'm not sure if it's organic, like it's coming from him. Plus, also, I think his webbing is actually black because I watched the colored version. I'm like, wow, that's interesting that his webbing is actually black. That actually makes sense even more so for like the black and white version of it, that it is black. That actually makes more sense. So, and I wish I could have gone on and watched this in black and white, but the way of which that I watched it, I didn't have the option. Because I went through an alternate way to just kind of get the notes coming from these episodes, and when I did that, I had to watch it in color. I'm like, I wanted to watch it in black and white. I should have watched it that way. Like, I was also kind of tempted to watch this over again in black and white, because I felt like that was the way that was meant to watch it. But I just, anyways. So, because I'm like, man, if I'm going to watch this, I should be watching in black and white. It's noir. I should watch it that way. Anyways, so, and I hope that people are either going to decide to watch it in color or black and white, or watch it both, just to see whatever they thought they missed, because fear of missing out. Anyways, so the colors are when it's in color, man, the colors are really bright. Like, there's characters that are wearing like really bright, like, orange suits and blue suits, and like, I think that also may go on and just be done because they're filming in both black and white and color simultaneously, so they have to have really popping colors at some points. But anyways, so, which didn't really make sense to me, that some of like Spider-Noir's costume is brown, but I guess they figured, yeah, a lot more people probably watch it in black and white, so it doesn't really matter. Anyways, so within the first episode, we come to find that Silvermane is to be the big bad guy, going on to have possibly been offering up all of these guys that we start to see here, like Addison, like Flint Marko, And also within the second episode, we see Tombstone, a character that you won't immediately think right away is Tombstone, but eventually you'll find out, um, the more that he interacts with Flint Marko, that he is Tombstone. But anyways, so and immediately when I found out this character was Tombstone after the fact, I'm like, oh yeah, this is Tombstone. Oh my god, oh, nutting. Anyways, so I was like, cool, like, because I had to look through the cast list to kind of see if there's any other like Easter egg things that were kind of coming up, but it doesn't look like that is to be the case. So through the second episode, we have Robbie instead of Ben Urich. Ben, so Ben, Robbie goes on to start to backtrack about Addison and is to find his wife and starts talking to her. And like Addison's wife doesn't really give a fuck, like she doesn't care. And Robbie just kind of finds that to be strange. So, if anything, once Tombstone finds out that Robbie is kind of looking into things, Tombstone makes his way to Flint Marko, and we start to see that Flint is more and more starting to turn to more sand faced, and that they're going on and they're saying within the second episode, it's like, well, yeah, I guess we're on borrowed time. And I'm like, what does that exactly mean? Like, there's so much about this show that I feel like there's a lot of stuff that I hope that they explain at some point, because I'm not really sure what exactly is what they're talking about, and what is all like. I'm wanting to try to figure out what all the weight of this is all really is. Like, why did Addison do what he did? Why did he burn Silvermane's place? Why did Cat Hardy speak to that governor? Like, why is all this going on? Like, I'm like, the more that I go through these two episodes, the more questions I have that I don't think is getting answered in the following episode. So I'm starting to get kind of annoyed that I'm like, why can't they clear this up within the following episode to be like, okay, hey, yeah, we kind of left this as a lingering thing to have you ask, like, okay, why did that go on? And I swear to God, if this show goes on throughout all these episodes and kind of leaves all this kind of sifting off to the wind and doesn't explain it all, I am going to be outraged. I hope they explain everything. I was even kind of confused of what happened uh, to Ben's wife Ruby. They kind of leave it a little bit murky, where we see that she's like drowning in this water, and the spider is kind of going on and in the water trying to get to her, but she just sinks too far and he just can't get to her, I guess. But they don't explain why that is to happen. So I'm just like, I hope they explain it. Please, nobody give me any spoilers. Like, you could probably go on and say something as simple as like, well, yeah, I watched the whole season, and you could say like, yeah, they explain it, or no, they never explain it, and it annoyed me too. Say that, but don't like give me any spoilers. I'm just trying to go on and just trying to figure this all out. I also liked that the show, it did feel like a very much like a classic black and white movie. Like how you were to go on and probably see those old fashioned black and white monster movies. Like, it kind of reminded me of that. Specifically when the Sandman goes on and he kind of rears his face and like sand is just kind of coming off him. And I'm like, yeah, that seems like your classic like black and white film, in my opinion, to kind of present it that way. Um, uh, like the ways of which that they were going on and doing this show, we had like Cat Hardy that goes into this whole music number. I'm like, man, that music number went on like really long. But because I hate it in anything where they have this music number that's not an actual musical show. I complain to the heavens about that all the time in anything. Um, and I will go on and further complain about it here. Yeah, the music number goes on for way too long, but I get what the music number is set up for. That like it is to go on and say like this specifically is to match the time period. That we have these kind of God, what is the word? Um, like we have these performers, they're in this nightclub, and like that's to be kind of like the cliche of the time, is you always have um this singer, and also kind of harpens back to Spider-Man 3, which I know a lot of people go on and like, really, you're gonna reference Spider-Man 3? Yes, because Mary Jane goes on and she's this like lounge singer within Spider-Man 3, so it's kind of bringing that back within the show to like we have a black suited Spider-Man, we have a lounge singer. It kind of feels like again some familiar things here. Is also Mary Jane is to go on it and in the beginning of the movie and do that whole wonderful song in Spider-Man 3. So familiar, but not exactly the same. This show, as most of it is to kind of lean into the the detective noir of Spider-Man, which rarely ever is going to actually happen. Well, that's not true. Like, yeah, like he is kind of a detective, but it's not like it's not a. I feel a big enough part of his character. Like, I feel like he's just a guy that just kind of follows some leads, and then like the monster appears, and then he fights it off. Uh, the detective part, yeah, like it comes and goes. Most of the time, like if anything, he's just kind of more of like a reporter. That it's like, hey, he's heard some buzz about um, this big huge monster wreaking downtown New York, and so he's going on and seeking it out. Uh, it's a lot more like that than being a detective. So, with that said, I think that's in a nutshell what happens in these two episodes. I've kind of gone on it and bring up the more beefy pieces of it rather than going on and fully explaining these episodes. Like, I think the only thing I can also bring up, so Silvermane is starting to hunt down the people that were either involved in what happens to Addison within this early parts of the show, and once things are to kind of get more revealed of what his real agenda is, I'm hoping he'll be a more interesting character. But until then, I'm just like, I don't give a flying fuck about Silvermane. Um, like, I wish that there could have been anybody else but him. Like, you could have given me like Mysterio, and I would have been more interested by that. I think they've gone on to just do like a Craven the Hunter thing, so I don't think that would have made much. Well, honestly, Craven the Hunter would have been really cool here, um, as some kind of variation of it, where it's like these guys like Craven the Hunter could have been in the military, and yeah, like that would have been more interesting than Silvermane, but that's just not the direction they went into. Anyways, so plus, I think at this point, them leading into Craven, when they just came off of a movie, a live action of it, I think they were trying to avoid it. But anyways, so with that said, as well as also like I'm sure they were leaning more into the comic books. So with that said, yeah, I really did enjoy these two episodes. I am to go on and say, uh, because I've gone on to also see stuff like Pennyworth and Agent Carter, which is very similar to this. I say for Spider Noir, like I would say that these episodes are actually really great. I liked them. I liked them that much. Uh, I question whether or not that this show probably should have a lot more action in it. It should have a lot more of the Spider-Man parts in it. I really liked how he goes on and he consistently like grabs his neck and he has that Peter tingle or spider sense. Uh, and they're making sense of that, but also Ben Riley doesn't exactly know what that is or why it's happening. He just knows that it's happening, and I liked that. Um, that it's kind of like, well, you would think with this much older, well, 5 years of doing possibly Spider-Man or more, you would think that this guy would know what the spider sense is. Like, you would think that he would have figured it out and would have mastered it by now. But no? Like, he's still gone on and just been like, yeah, what the heck is this spider sense thing? Ah, my neck. Like, that doesn't make sense to me. Uh, but, like, I get it that, like, there are so many variations of Peter. Like, I think Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man like knew what the spider sense was and it really helped him. Where all the other ones they were just kind of very like unsure about it. Like the 90s animated Spider-Man thing, he figured out that it's a spider sense and what have you, but like there's sometimes that it would just kind of go off and he'd be like, I don't know what this is. Like I don't know why it's going on and giving me uh this sense, and he would just walk off and there'd be like some villain following him and it'd be like, oh, that's what the spider sense was going off for. That would happen a lot in the 90s Spider-Man thing. So as well as also coincidentally the 90s Spider-Man animated series guy voiced the Spider-Noir in the Spider-Man Shattered Dimension video game. But anyways, so with that said, let's cut to just going in scene for scene, blow for blow of these episodes. Yeah, I don't think I probably went into big enough detail about all this, but like I enjoyed it, so definitely I would recommend people checking it out. Uh I would hope that a lot of people would probably check this out more in black and white, but I think people will probably just check it out in color. But let me know in the comments below which ones you chose, whether it to be black and white or color. I would have loved to have seen it in black and white. I just feel just so I'm so hurt by the fact that I had to watch it in color. I really do. But this is the way I watched it. So with that said, I think it's about that time. It should just go into spoiler time. Spoiler time. It's about that time I'm going to spoil these episodes. Let me know in the comments below what's be your favorite variation of Spider-Man. As far as either in the animated stuff, the live action things, or whatever have you. Maybe it's something that I have not gone on and covered in this channel. That would be great. But ultimately, at some point, I probably want to go on and be tempted to cover everything Spider-Man. There is some stuff that I feel there is some Spider-Man content that probably isn't that good, but could be just something to watch as just this funny, goofy kind of thing. I myself have even gone on to watch Japanese Spider-Man, which is to be a show where a Spider-Man kind of morphs and he has like a weird, goofy, uh, like giant mech with him, and that's strange. That also is another Spider-Man show. It's all in Japan, like they never dubbed it over, but But yeah, like I really was interested in Japanese Spider-Man because I was like, what the heck is this? So yeah, there definitely is Spider-Man shows out there. It seems that they had gone on to give a nod by the end of Spider-Man or X-Men '97. And they had brought back the '90s Spider-Man, and I thought that was really cool. I don't think that they're going to go on and go back into a continuation of that '90s Spider-Man, but it's just kind of cool that they went on to give that nod the way they did. But anyways, let's go on. Let's pause this here, and I'll just go back over the episodes and I'll talk them through, and maybe there'll be little tidbits of little things that I'm to go on and talk about here. Uh, Also, to again kind of re-bring up Spider-Man 3, the fight with Flint Marco and also the Spider here felt very much also like Spider-Man 3. If you really kind of think about like the setting that they're in, it kind of reminded me of that film. So hopefully people are to go on and probably even recheck out stuff like Spider-Man 3 again and watch that movie. Because it feels very similar. The two projects. Like I'm not saying go on and check out my review. No one's probably gonna care about that. Uh, but yeah, I think like I'm. It's great that I kind of in a roundabout way kind of covered a good chunk of Spider-Man content. But I don't really know what's really popular. I don't even know if Spider-Man Noir is gonna be anything. I hope it does because if anything, I just need a win right now. Um, but if anything, like I really want to just cover the show anyways. I hope that it does extremely well every video that I do of it because I want to just be like, yay, I could justify covering something now. So, with that said, let's pause here. I'll get out my notes and I'll just kind of cover the scene for scene, blow for blow of the show. Thank you for going on and deciding to watch this, but I know that this is at a point in time we're going into the nitty gritty details about these episodes are not as interesting, but I'm covering them anyways because if anything, I just like to cover the bits and pieces. Um, and the only part of the review that this hurts is just me doing it. Some people may go on and be like, "Why have to listen to this whole thing?" Well, like I can go on and I can see through the average view time, like that isn't the case. But um, but I get it. Like if anything, I'm just to have to go on and just be grateful that people view this. How are they really watch it for, or how briefly they watch it for. Anyways, let's go in here. Let's pause. Let's get this. Let's get this uploaded, and hopefully, uh, have people go on and check this out. So that'll be great. Let's pause here. Let's do that. All right, spoilers. So, wasn't it great to have Black Cat in the show? I know it wasn't really Black Cat; it was Cat Hardy. But like, I was thinking, I'm like, oh, Felicia Hardy, Black Cat. But I'm like, but yeah, I don't think this is gonna actually end up being Black Cat here. I'm like, well, at least we got something. Um, but that was just kind of cool. So, so yeah, so we end up getting like all these like villains in just the first two episodes. So I'm like, what else are we gonna get throughout the more of this? Like I was thinking that they were probably gonna do like Electro at some point, but I'm like, maybe they're not gonna do Electro. Maybe it's just gonna be just the guys that they had here, and that's all they're doing. If that's it, that kind of sucks. Like I was hoping for there to be like at least one more villain. Plus, also like already out of the gate, if they're just gonna have just Tombstone and Sandman, I'm like, man, you're really not getting much into the rogues gallery of Spider-Man stuff. But plus, also you kind of like blew your load way too early already. But I guess like within the first episode, they really needed something impactful like the Sandman to really get people really interested, or otherwise people would have been like, click, and I could completely understand. So let's get into the beginning of this. So right out of the gate, we of course go into the Nicolas Cage monologue where he's going on and he's saying like, yeah, a lot of people are going and ask me what this universe is. It's the only universe I've ever known. He goes on and mentions about his past, about how he's gone on and he's been either to be dubbed either an extraordinary man or an ordinary man. He's kind of a little bit of both. Mentioning how he used to get into fights in the city, how he fell in love, and eventually how all that went to shit, basically. How he'll never go on and never do that again, for how eventually it was taken away from him. So we now cut to what looks like a heist of some sorts at like some jewelry store. So the spider comes in and beats up all these guys and breaks through all the jewelry cases. It's really cool. And then we get these flashes of Ben's time with Ruby, and he goes to her grave, and then shortly after that he decides to hang up his costume and destroy this bathroom wall and hangs this briefcase which holds his costume within this wall. And then 5 years is to pass. So Ben is at a bar now, going on and looking at a photo of Addison. He turns to a woman and is to ask her, it's like, hey, does this picture look like that guy? And the girl talking to Ben is like, oh, you look a little handsome. And Ben is like, well, maybe I should get your eye. Maybe I'm questioning your eyesight. So this girl continues to hit on Ben and mentions how, like, well, yeah, like, I'm with somebody. And so Ben is like, oh, well, I'm sure at some point you're going to need this card. Like, if anything, give this to your husband. And it's his private investigator card because he knows that's like, hey, yeah, like, if you're going to be cheating on your husband, I might as well make some money off of it. So here's where Ben starts to follow Addison, and he's not going to be the only one. We'll also go on to have another private investigator who I'm trying to decipher exactly what his name is because I know I might pronounce it incorrectly. His name is Donopoli, I think is his name. I'm gonna go with that. So, or Donegal, Donegal, Donegal. So Ben goes on and is to follow Addison, and what happens is Ben calls out for Addison and starts to chase him. This door comes flying open from this car, hits Ben, knocks him down, and Donegal starts chasing after Addison. And everybody starts surrounding the streets and like, hey, is that guy okay? Is he dead? Like, so Ben inevitably gets up and starts asking, "Hey, where did that guy go?" And so Ben is quick on the chase. So Ben makes his way to the Standard Oil Company, and I'm curious if this building has any kind of thing of why we have to showcase this here. Like, I'm hoping that this isn't just gonna be some this random thing, because otherwise, why would they need to show this company name, this oil company? Like, what is the reasoning for this? So, like, I'm assuming that at some point the show is gonna just explode and explain everything. Like, wow, like man, they really went in depth about all this, and then it's going to be really beneficial to have watched this whole thing and get all these little pieces out of it. So here's where Ben touches his neck for the first time because he has his spider sense. It's tingling, or his Peter Tinkle, his Peter Tinkle Winkle. So Ben whips out his gun and we come to find that Donegal is to be face to face with Addison, and Addison is to use his power to have flames start bursting out of his hands. And eventually, as Donegal goes on and whips out his gun and is to try to protect himself, he fires on to Addison, and Addison falls over because he gets shot and killed, and then his whole body starts going into flame. All of a sudden, the flame goes on and hits uh, a bit of gas that is pouring down on the ground, and that ignites this big, huge gasoline tank, and a huge explosion goes off. Ben then sees Donegal go flying and crashing onto the ground. Ben takes Donegal, drags him off to a safe distance, and then starts thumbing through his wallet. Ben finds that Donegal was given more money than he was, and he finds out that the same guy that had called him had also called Donegal, who is Winston, to try to track down Addison. So we cut then to Ben making his way back to his office. And Ben is saying good morning. And Janet's like, yeah, it's more like afternoon. Ben comes in desperately hoping that he's gonna get some alcohol instead of some coffee, and Ben asks if there's any calls, but yeah, they haven't paid the phone bill in a while, so yeah, the phone is turned into a paperweight. So here is where Carmody comes in here and is say, "Hey, yeah, I called," and they're like, "Yeah, like, well, we like to go on and have a more in person kind of touch." So Carmody gives Ben the picture of Cat Hardy. Goes on to say that this is his wife, and as Ben immediately looks at Carmody, he's like, "Are you rich, sir?" Like, because yeah, like I guess Ben is making a joke that this guy isn't exactly attractive, and that's why this woman is to be his wife. So it's kind of funny that way. So Carney mentions about how his wife is going on in this location at 8 o'clock at this hotel, and is hoping that he can go on and have Ben do this investigation work. So Janet and both Ben explain to this guy about how uh, Ben is an ace photographer. He'll go on and he'll take his job. Uh, he'll take Carmy's job because he desperately needs it. And they talk about fees, about how it's like 50 up front and then 10 a day afterwards. So Carmody leaves, and then we see Robbie here. Robbie starts to make his way through town. It's so interesting. There's this one thing where, and I'm sure this is going to become a thing now that Spider-Man Noir is a thing. I bet there's going to be a handful of people that are all going to try putting ketchup on bread and eating it, and I'm sure that's going to be a thing. How much you want to bet? People are going to do videos, and this is going to be becoming a trend because of this show. I bet that's what's going to happen now. Yeah, so Robbie at one point has, and this doesn't come up right now, but it comes up later. Robbie at one point opens up his fridge to just find that there's ketchup in there. And so Robbie just puts ketchup on his bread and downs it. I'm like, that is freaking gross. But I could probably understand that it's like, well, yeah, like there's some people that like they completely run out of food, and I mean run out of food to where it's like they make like the worst possible kinds of sandwiches. Like the guy who was either Paul White or the Big Show, he had gone on to do these interviews where he was so strapped with cash that he made like toothpaste sandwiches for a good long while because he just didn't have any money. I think that's what the story he had. I'm like, uh, why wouldn't you just toast bread? Like I'd got like when we were tight for money for a good long time, and we still are. I would go on and I would just take, I would just make toast and then I would just pour syrup on the bread, and like that would just be just the meals that I would make because we just have a lot of syrup that is just lying around. So I'm like, okay, I'll just make this meal, and it just was good enough to just fill me up for however long when we just didn't have money, and we are just kind of squeaking by. So, but if anything, Robbie goes into this diner to meet up with Ben, and so Robbie is pushing for Ben, hoping that at some point that Ben is going to become the Spider again, because or Robbie knows that Ben is to be the Spider. So Robbie is going on and pushing pictures of Silvermane at Ben to be like, hey, like Silvermane like burned down his mansion like a couple of nights ago. Uh, like, hey, maybe we should get Spider-Man on the case. And we have Ben, and he's like, could you just stop that? Could you, like, so, because Ben will go on and read reports of Robbie, and he's talking about, like, man, like, we wish we missed the spider. And Ben's like, God, really, really, Robbie? Like, why don't you just let it go? Because every time he goes on and brings that up, Ben is like, man, that was 5 years ago. Like, I'm not the man I used to be. As well as also, like, because of what happened to Ruby, like, this guy doesn't want to go on and become this guy again. But eventually he will be this guy again because the show will need him to. So, it's kind of like Daredevil or a number of those other characters, like Spider-Man, within the second Spider-Man movie, where he gives up the whole suit and throws it in the trash, and then decides, oh yeah, I should probably become Spider-Man again because I have to save Mary Jane, and yeah, so he ends up finding the suit again, and fighting crime. Anyways, so uh but it's an interesting thing where Robbie goes on to like, well, hey, like this city needs a hero, and Ben is like, well, I hope they find someone because it won't be him. Like, honestly, with this supposedly being like the Marvel world of things, like, yeah, there should be some like superpower at somebody somewhere, right? Like, we'd go on and at some points randomly in Spider-Man books, you'd be like, well, hey, where's the Avengers right now when you need them? Like, why is it that I'm so alone? Um, like, yeah, that's so interesting in comic books how there's nothing else that exists out there but this one character. But in this case, it kind of has to because of how like this show doesn't have an endless budget, but has a pretty decent budget for what it goes on and does here. So, so now we get a flashback of again Ruby to be drowned and the spider in the water trying to get to her but can't. So Bennison mentioned how Ruby's been dead for a long time, and because Robbie is to say, it's like, well, hey, like, what would Ruby say, and what would Ruby think? And Ben is like, well, hey, Ruby's been dead for a long time, and like, I don't care what she thinks anymore. So we have Mayor Morris's picture getting reelected here, and we'll find that Mayor Morris is to be the guy that is at the hotel speaking with Cat Hardy, who's to be the case of which that Ben will get involved in later on here. So Ben goes on and makes his way to this phone booth. Guys, remember phone booths? I'm actually old enough to remember when phone booths were a thing. Now everybody has cell phones, and now like phone booths are just hard to come by. Yeah, I remember that I would go on and I would have to use a phone booth, and I would have to call somebody collect. Um, because yeah, like I would need to get like picked up from school or something like that, and I would just need to call collect to my parents and whatever, be like, hey, can you pick me up? Um, and they'd be like, oh yeah, like you ready to come home? I'm like, yeah, like can you pick me up? So yeah, like I would call them collect to let them know, hey yeah, like the after school stuff is over. Can you pick me up? And they're like, yeah, because there wasn't buses after school sometimes, so I'd either have to like walk home, or like my parents would be like, oh yeah, just call me. I'm like, how? Like, so I'd have to call them collect because I just figured that out. And so I was like, all right, I'm like, yeah, I guess I'm pretty smart because yeah, otherwise, like, how would I get home besides walking? Um, so if anything, there's this kid who figures out how to hack the phone booth by having this coin that has this rope in it, and then he pulls the coin back out, and basically you get a phone call for free. So Ben asks the kid, it's like, well, hey, why aren't you in school? And the kid's like, well, hey, I don't need to know any of that. And so Ben kind of asks them about some kind of like things, and and he doesn't know much about letters and numbers and whatever. So he's like, yeah, kid, like you can't really get by with an education like that. Like, come on. So So Ben goes on and is to try to find out um where Donegal is because he needs to speak with him. So so Ben meets up with Donegal and starts asking about Silvermane or Winston, whoever was to go on and be the guy that hired them, because he wants to know more information about them. So and Ben is going on and saying like, okay, well, hey, how about you go on and when you sober up, because he's at this bar, uh, to meet him at 9 o'clock at this very specific place. And funny enough, Donegal is to be with the redheaded girl that had gone on to say to Ben how handsome he was. Is like, well, yeah, I should probably get your eyes checked. Same girl, and Ben was to tell Donegal, it's like, well, hey, yeah, you should probably go to this bar because you meet up with this girl that's probably really loose. And Donegal is like, well, yeah, I usually marry those kind of girls. So so next thing, I'm trying to think if I'm right here. Where I'm at. So next we cut to here's where Ben starts reading uh, Robbie's newspaper and starts talking about how yeah, like the spider should get involved in the story, and Ben's like, give it a break. So uh, so I think here's the story where they talk about how Silvermane's mansion had gotten burned down, and how also there was a bloody rampage going on, and so now Ben is waiting alongside the Red Cliff, uh, the Red Cliff Hotel, because eventually he's waiting for Cat Hardy to make her appearance to this place. So, because Ben knows that this girl is going to get there by 8 o'clock. So 8 o'clock comes and goes, and so Cat Hardy makes her way into the hotel, and Ben starts clipping pictures. Ben makes his way into the hotel following Cat Hardy and is to mention to the guy behind the counter uh, that he has a delivery for Boris Karloff, who, of course, if a lot of people don't know, is to actually be the original black and white Frankenstein. And in turn, Ben even goes on and mentions that it's like, oh yeah, he may be going by the under Frankenstein, ha ha ha, and like kind of jokes be had here. But again, oh, within here, we come to find that I think Nicolas Cage just really likes uh, Boris Karloff's Frankenstein, or really just he likes Frankenstein. At one point in the movie, next, his character is to have like half of his stage name be ripped off from Frankenstein, and we find out that reference somewhere in the show or somewhere in the movie next. So I don't know what it is with Nicolas Cage and his definitive enjoyment of Frankenstein, But I hope some interviewer at some point asks him about that. Of like, why do you like Frankenstein so freaking much? Because now in this show and in next, like there's that weird reference of that. Like, is it just a coincidence or is it just um, Nicolas Cage just trying to squeeze that in there somewhere? Um, because his enjoyment of Frankenstein, I don't know. Um, but anyways, so Ben waits to just see where the elevator is going because, of course, him being technically a Spider Man, he can go on and be able to make his way into this building because his non fear of heights. But in this case, instead of going on and crawling upon walls, because I don't think that Spider Man can actually crawl upon walls, I've yet to see that happen so far. A lot of times he's either falling or he's using his webs. I've yet to see him actually web crawl or wall crawl. Let me know in the comments below if Spider-Man Noir does web crawl, because I would assume it happens like in Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, because at one point like all the Spider-Man are kind of like on this wall and they're just kind of like they're all kind of just walking back and forth. So I think he can wall crawl, but I've never seen the case of him doing it in this show quite yet. Maybe the show doesn't have a budget to do that kind of thing. I don't know. I've yet to see it. I hope I see it somewhere. Um, if anything, yet I just kind of seen him like attached to cars. But that's about it. So I'll see if I can eventually figure out when he does wall crawl. Moving on. So at one point, Ben sees this guy go on and he's sticking like what looks like I'm gonna say that it's stamps, and he's weirdly just licking the stamps and putting it all over his body is what it looks like. Uh Either that or I can't really exactly tell what this is. That's what it looked like to me. That the guy is just licking these stamps and putting it on his body. Ben weirdly has to take a photo of that, even though it has nothing to do with this case, because like I just had to. It just looked so weird. So Ben finally makes his way to Kat Hardy's room to see her speaking with Morris. So as they start to argue, at one point it seems that Morris is going to take his hand to Kat, and Ben webs up Morris's hand, preventing him from doing that. And Morris kind of looks back and like, "Hey, what the heck was doing? What the heck was stopping me from doing that?" He opens up the fire escape, and there's no one there, so that was kind of a little bit strange. So Ben makes his way back to his private investigation uh, office and speaks with Winston. So as the two of them talk, Ben is already upset that he was kind of stiffed by having the other private investigator getting more money than him. So Ben is already just like, well, hey, if you want information from me, like I'm gonna force you to pay me $200, because if you want this information, you're gonna pay for it. And Ben knows that this guy's gonna pay anything that he wants. So and Ben is also saying that he's like, well, yeah, and I want to keep 30 for myself. And then Janet kind of coughs, is like, Janet will keep the 30. So As Winston walks off, we then have Donegal that is off to the side, kind of following Winston in his car. So the next thing we cut to is Silvermane. He's at his former home that has burned down, and he's just kind of looking around right now. So, uh, both Ben and Donegal have snuck in uh, to Silvermane and Winston talking, and Silvermane is saying how like it makes him feel young again that people are trying to kill him because I guess he's never had that kind of problem in such a long time because no one would ever bother a guy like Silvermane because they wouldn't have the power, they wouldn't have the balls. So Winston is saying that Ben will only go on and help him if they pay him a lot of money. And all of this is both Donegal and Ben figuring out what exactly these guys want from them. And they want more information about Addison. They want to go on and they want to know, like, okay, who was involved in Addison's death last night? Or where is Addison is the real question here. Because they don't know he's dead. So Silvermane goes on and tells Winston to pay him anything that they want, or pay Ben whatever he wants to get the answers that he wants, because they're trying to track down where Addison is because they don't know he's dead. So Ben and Donegal leave the mansion, and we have Donegal that is thinking that they should explain what happened to Addison's because they'll get a lot of money for it. And Donegal's even asking, like, yeah, we can even charge them like 1,000. And Ben wants nothing to do with it because, like, hey, man, if we charge them a lot of money, like, they'll kill us for it. Like, they'll kill us for our information. So, like, yeah, like, as soon as you probably go on and you get paid off by these people, they'll hand you the money, they'll shoot you in the face afterwards. So, yeah, I wouldn't want to deal with that either. So, Ben makes his way back to his office to speak with Janet, who is developing the photos. And they show the picture of the guy who had gone on to have all these like weird things all over his body. And Ben is like, well, yeah, I had to do it. I couldn't resist. So here's where they go and they develop the photo to figure out who the guy that Cat was talking to, and they find out that it was the governor. There was Morris. So or is the mayor? My apologies, not the governor, the mayor. I get the things kind of confused. So now Ben goes on and has a meeting with Carmody, and as Carmy starts asking us, go, hey, like, where is my wife at 8 o'clock? Redcliffe, where did she go? And Ben tries to lie to Carmy and just says, like, oh, no, you know what? You're so very untrusting of your wife. If anything, maybe you should trust your wife. If anything, like, he completely just kind of stonewalls everything. And explains to him, it's like, well, yeah, your wife didn't cheat on you. Like, this should be great news. So Ben grabs Carmody and gets him out there, and and the thing of it is, it just seems like Ben just hates money. It really seems like he does. There's several cases where he can go on and get a load of money, but it seems that he even goes on and he tries to give people back their money. There are times where he could have gone on and gotten a good chunk of money, like for those negatives, and he's like, hey, I'll give you these negatives for free. And it's like, dude, like, you could have made money off of that with these people that are, I'm sure, have a good chunk of it. But again, like, we have Ben that I think wants to try to avoid conflict and wants to avoid people coming after him. So yeah, like, maybe Ben does this so that way he can just avoid having this be a problem later on. And he's hoping that if he gives this guy back his money, that he'll never come back to him of like, hey, you never gone on and you never told me the truth. Well, yeah, like, Ben didn't want to tell him the truth because it deals with the mayor. So yeah, so Ben is going on and saying how loyal this guy's wife is and gets him out. So now Janet is so upset. It's like, dude, you went on and did this whole investigation and you gave him back the money? So, well, yeah, like, Ben could not go on and explain this guy and tell him the truth. And if anything, he was so worried about it, like, having to be a thing about smearing the mayor, that, yeah, like, he was just to kind of decide to avoid it all. Um, so Ben goes on and touches his neck again because he has that spider sense go off. So here's where Janet notices that Ben is touching his neck, and she's like, "Oh, do you have that sense that you're having, that sixth sense of yours?" And Ben is like, "Yeah, like, it's going off, but I can't tell what it's for. I can't tell why it's going off." So Janet starts cracking jokes and, like, starts asking about, like, well, hey, maybe it should be it's going off because maybe it's telling you that you should pay your secretary, except you can't. uh, and, like, the only money that they had gotten was the thing that they just gave away. So 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 uh so Janet goes on and makes the idea of, like, well, hey, if we aren't going to go on and if we aren't going to pay, or if we aren't going to get paid from Carmody for those photos, we can turn around and use the photos to blackmail Cat Hardy, and we can get paid that way. And Ben is like, you know what, that's not a bad idea. And so we cut. Robbie goes on and makes his way to a hospital and speaks to this nurse and meets up with Ben. Uh, the two of them make their way down this stairwell, and Ben gives Robbie this picture of Cat Hardy, and Robbie knows exactly who that is. So and tells him where exactly he can go to find her. So the two of them make their way to the morgue, and they open up one of these morgue doors, and they find Addison's body there. And as they look at the body, they find out it's like, well, hey, like his body was burning, but you can't really tell from the body that that was to actually have happened. There's no third-degree burn. There's no burns whatsoever, but he was on fire. Because they say it's like, well, hey, does this guy look like he died in a fire to you? No. So so they ID him, and they realize that they had figured out that this is Addison. So Ben is now just like, oh great. So it's only a matter of time before Silvermane finds out uh, that Addison is dead, and like he's going to be looking for the private investigators who are looking for Addison and try to figure out what had all happened. So, and here's where again Ben is having his spider sense go off. So Robbie turns to Ben and asks him if this guy had superpowers, and asks him if he's like Ben, and Ben is like, drop it. Like, forget about it, Robbie. He's dead. So Ben now makes his way to the alcove, hoping to meet Donegal at 9 o'clock, like they said. Ben makes his way there. Wait. So Ben goes on and makes his way to some bar somewhere, and asks if Donegal is there, which he's not. So Ben tells the bartender, "Hey, tell Donegal to meet me at 9 o'clock at the alcove. It's important." And he walks off. So Ben makes his way to the alcove and is to find it that there's a performer making her way to the stage, and it's none other than Cat Hardy. So here's where Ben goes on and is to listen to the performance of Cat Hardy, and he's just kind of very memorized by her. Like as soon as he's hearing her singing, he's just so locked in, and he's just so wowed by her. So she goes into this very long performance, which was actually like I was captivated by it. I was really enjoying this. So Ben is realizing that he's waited long enough for Donegal. So he's going on and making phone calls. He's getting no answer. So at this point, we finally figure out where Donegal actually is. So Silvermane is to have two men that is beating up on Donegal. And this is to be Perry and I think a guy named Pudge. And Winston is also in the background here. Silvermane goes on and asks Perry, it's like, hey, wake him up. I need to ask him a question. And Perry's like, well, I don't think you're going to get much answer because I think he's dead. Silvermane goes on and takes this, what looks like a knife of some kind, and jabs it into Donegal's arm, and Donegal wakes up. It's like, oh, I guess he's not dead yet, is he? So Silvermane goes on to speak to Donegal and goes on to ask him what had exactly happened to Addison. So Donegal explains to Silvermane about how Addison is dead and that he had shot him last night. Donegal eventually explains how it was only him and Ben there to have seen this whole thing, And shortly after Silvermane getting everything that he wants, Silvermane goes on and slices the throat of Donegal and says it's done, it's over. And so Silvermane goes on and says, like, well, okay, we need absolute proof that Addison is dead, and then get the other private investigator. Go and find Ben Riley. So Silvermane walks off. So after Kat's performance, immediately Ben comes to Kat's table with a lighter as she's trying to light a cigarette. So Ben mentions how he loved her performance, and so he comes to her table to go on and say that he's here to speak to her with business. And here's where we go and we have Flint coming in. Like, yeah, this is great. So Flint starts grabbing onto Ben, and Ben mentions how Flint is a gorilla, and Ben now has to act fast. He starts throwing the pictures in front of Kat, and starts figuring out if he can go on and get any money out of these, or go on uh, and Kat is going on to be like, well, hey, like, if anything, I just did my nails, and Flint, like, I don't want him to ruin his double Windsor tie. So, like, basically saying that if Ben won't leave them alone, that they'll hurt him. So, eventually Ben leaves without any money. Uh, and Ben says, like, well, hey, maybe we'll meet again sometime, and maybe we'll have lunch. Maybe I'll pay next time, because if anything, I'm such a nice guy. So as Ben leaves, he goes on to turn to the kid off to the side and kind of drops money in front of him and asks, hey, am I being followed? And the kid says yes, because he's getting followed by Flint. So Ben goes on and makes his way through dark alleys, and sees this huge building and a crane. And Ben makes his way to what almost looks like a kind of construction site, or a building that is kind of getting put together, um, because we kind of see these wide open areas. So, here's where Ben confronts Marco. So Marco is going on and asking Ben for the negatives of the photos, and if anything, Ben is going on and asking him, it's like, well, hey, don't you want a drink? Don't you want a burger? Don't you? So it's like, can't we just talk this over? And Marco is just like, hey man, like, this is your last chance. Like, come on, like, give me the negatives. Because Marco is thinking that he can just take Ben and just chuck him off this building. And Ben is like, yeah, I'm not a guy that's afraid of heights. So finally, Marco goes on and starts beating Ben up, and then grabs him and lifts him over the building. And Marco tells Ben, it's like, hey, the negatives or I drop you. And so Marco starts throwing Ben around. And they start getting like thrown through some of the wood pieces. And Ben goes on and grabs a wood piece and starts fighting Marco off. Uh, Here's where we go on to have Ben, that as he looks at Marco getting back up, all of a sudden Ben starts to see that parts of Marco's skin is to seemingly start to change and morph. Here's where we see Marco, who lifts his head up and some of his face is becoming sand. And now we start to realize that this is to be Sandman. So Marco, it seems at this point, is to not be normal Marco. Marco is kind of gone. So, because eventually Marco will state that when eventually his mind ends up getting jogged back when he starts talking to Kat, and he's like, oh, I'm sorry, I just kind of lost myself there as he was fighting with Ben. So, Marco or Sandman at this point starts fighting Ben. And there is at one point where Sandman's fist really does turn into sand as well as also his face. So there is at one point where Sandman punches or chucks uh, Ben and he goes falling. We're to go on and assume that it's like, okay, well, Ben is just going to fall to his death. Oh no. Oh, yeah, Spider Man. So Ben figures out a way to get back onto the building. And as Marco goes on and meets up with Ben, Ben goes on and spiderwebs Marco. And as Ben gets back up, Kat goes on to make her way back to Marco. And now Marco kind of jogs his memory back, like, oh, like, what happened? Like, I kind of lost myself there. So Kat tells Ben to just leave them alone, and so Ben makes his way back to the office. So at this point now, like, Ben has gone on to do so much work at this point that he's still not getting paid for any of it. So, oh, a lounge singer, I think, would have been the perfect word, and it's one of his dialogue that comes up. So, Ben and Janet are talking, and at this point, Janet is tempted to just kind of quit her job because of how, like, for how too long, like, Ben hasn't really made any money. And Janet is starting to take her things and start to collect them. And Ben even tells Janet, it's like, well, hey, that's my lamp. It's like, I'm sorry, dude. It's like, you haven't paid me in how long? And you're caring about a lamp now? So, so Janet is going on and saying that Ben um, is to be who he really knows that he is. and that's to be retired. And then all of a sudden, Kat comes in and is to go on like, well, hey, I need to hire you because I have a job for you. And we come to find out by the end of the episode that all of a sudden Flint is now missing, and Kat needs to figure out why. So Jenna's like, okay, 50 up front, and then $10 every day after that, and the episode ends. So they go on and they show like by the end of the episode what is going to go on throughout the whole entire season, and that got me even more excited because I'm like, okay, cool, we're getting back to the Spider-Noir character. Like, I was almost assuming that we were never going to go on and get back into the suit again, because that's what happens a lot of these shows. They tease that there is this whole Spider-Man thing, and then they never deliver on that again, which is like garbage. Because that's just how cheap shows kind of tend to be from time to time. But it seems like this show is going to go on and just be like, well, hey, yeah, we had to kind of like just say that there wasn't going to be this Spider-Noir character for a little bit to have him gain it back. Plus, also, I think in this show they want to try as much as possible to have Nicolas Cage be as much in the show as they can, because it's a big star Nicolas Cage. Like, you should probably try to have like, it's kind of like Iron Man 3, where Iron Man was so much in the movie, or Robert Downey Jr. was so much in the movie, more so than even Iron Man was, because they paid this guy so much money, Robert Downey Jr., so they were like, well, yeah, we're going to have him be in the movie as much as we can, because whenever he's in the Iron Man suit, he's basically in his trailer, uh, just not doing anything. So they had to figure out a way, I think, to write Robert Downey Jr. in Iron Man 3, more so than Iron Man even. That's why we got the movie we got, which was like, oh, okay, like it was fun, but if anything, it was just not as good as the other two. Um, but then eventually we would go on to get stuff like Civil Wars and all these kind of other bigger films that were to go on and be much more interesting. Anyways, so going into the second episode, I'm really trying to figure out a way to kind of skirt around to just kind of also get this review done really quickly. Plus, also, there's a lot of times where I don't know exactly beat for beat everything that happens, so I'm trying to be vague within here, even though I've just seen these episodes. Uh, anyways, so Ben has Cat Hardy in his office, and they start talking, and they um, they talk about how Flint is to be Cat's bodyguard, uh, and how Kat didn't marry her husband for his looks and this and that. So, and Janet goes on and says like, well, yeah, like Fletch is some kind of sand monster, right? And Kat is like, huh? Like she knows what's going on. And Ben turns to Kat. It's like, well, yeah, everything that she knows, I know. I know. So like, there's no secrets here. So Kat goes on and says to Ben, it's like, well, whatever is going on with Flint, it's getting worse. And so that's the reason why she wants Ben on the case of this. Because it seems that if anybody can take this Sandman guy down, it could be Ben of all people. So, so Ben is going on and saying to Kat that she needs to be more specific. Because if anything, there isn't much to kind of go on here. That if anything, like when because he goes on and compares this to a painter about how a painter needs brushes and he needs actual paint, and Cat goes on of like, well, yeah, I've kind of given you all I can give you. Like, if anything, you're an investigator, investigate. So, so Cat leaves and they start talking about cold showers, and Ben goes on to mention the next thing that he's going to do is that he's going to make his way to Flint's apartment, and for Janet to go on and make her way to the Bureau of Criminal Records. So the next thing we see is Silvermane getting what looks like a dinner being sent to him by this hotel, and we have Winston that's going on and talking to Silvermane about how there's these docks that the two of them are going to go to. But Winston is telling Silvermane, it's like, well, hey, yeah, these guys are Canadian. And if anything, I want to go on and I want to go there before you do so that way I can check everything out. And Silvermane's like, well, hey, well, I can go wherever I want. And so Winston's like, well, yeah, but like, but with pretty prees, sugar on top, and all this kind of crap, he's like, but I want to go before you do. Like, I want to go on and make sure uh, that this all goes down correctly. So, and then after that, Silvermane can come in there with his feathers and brighten up the place. So that way everything is more comfortable. So they go on and they talk about Addison, how he set himself on fire, and they talk about what it would be like to have that kind of power. And they also talk about Flint and how he's missing, and that they should probably go on and look for him. So Winston goes on and he leaves, and we then cut to Robbie. Here's where Robbie goes on and looks into his fridge and he sees only the ketchup and the bread, and he makes the ketchup bread. It's freaking awful. So Robbie goes on and he makes a phone call, and he's desperately asking through this phone this job, uh, and he's talking about this story that he has, and it's going to be the story of the year. If anything, it's going to even be bigger than his prior story about the spider. Uh, Eventually, they give in, and so Robbie thanks them. So now we cut to Ben. Ben goes on and knocks on Flint's door, and no one answers. So Ben is to figure out a way to, because of course he's a private investigator, to get his way into the place by figuring out a way to open the doors just magically. Within figuring out probably tools or something that he has on him. It's not really shown. So Ben finds this picture of Flint Marco and all of these other soldiers, and he sees on the back of it that it shows the thing from France. In this picture, we'll find the connection with Flint Marco to not only Tombstone, but then also Addison, that they're all in this military service together. So it's like, there's a connection here. So, and one by one, we start to see all the guys who were in this picture who are also now freaks. So, all of a sudden, there's a knock at the door, and Winston and a guy with him is to try to make his way into the apartment to start looking around. So, Ben scrambles and makes his way into a closet to hide out, but he had forgotten his hat. As Winston starts to look around with this guy he's with, he tells him to check the bathroom or to check the bedroom. As they start looking around, all of a sudden Ben notices that his hat is to be kind of just sticking out within the room. So Ben goes on and quickly webs his hat to grab it, and Winston, it seems, kind of briefly notices that the hat is now gone, and so he starts looking around, and he thinks that there may be something in the closet. Winston tries to open the closet to then come to find that he can't open it because Ben has sealed the closet doors by webbing them, so he won't be able to open the closet anyways. So the guy comes in that's working with Winston, and they've looked around and they can't find where Flint Marco is, so they both leave. So now here's the question: how exactly is Ben getting out of that closet if he webbed up his closet? Kind of messed up his exit strategy. So here's where now we have Janet that's going to the police station, and she's offering up burgers to all these police officers. All like there's several police officers that are kind of looking at Janet walk by, and they're seeing her burger bag and like, ooh, ah. So so Janet goes on and meets up with this police officer that's behind this counter, and so the two of them start talking. The cop goes on and says to Janet, it's like, oh, like, you finally decided to leave that private investigator Ben yet? And Janet's like, no, I'm still dumb and I'm still working with him. And so Janet goes on to offer up these burgers to this guy. And I think she says something about like that somebody had misplaced this bag, and like if anything she's gonna go on and hand it to this guy. The cop goes on to mention about how like, well, yeah, like my wife never wants me to go on and eat this kind of stuff, but inevitably he's like, well, yeah, but my wife will never know about it. So Janet is left to go to the criminal records, and Janet then goes on and gives Ben Marco's criminal record and hands it to him. Or talks about all the arrests that he'd gone on to do, and so inevitably they go on and they also talk about the photo and how Marco was in a war with uh, with Addison, and there's an assumption there that Cal was probably hiding something, that these guys have had a prior history together. So We now cut to Ben making his way back to Kat. He goes on and he overhears that she's playing this piano and is asked like, well, hey, where is that from? And Kat says from nowhere, it's an original. So Ben goes on to mention to Kat how he had visited Flint's apartment and thrusts the photo of the military photo and asks about like Addison and how he's dead now, and he was the guy who had burnt down Silvermane's mansion. So Kat goes on and just explains that the world is a dangerous place, and Ben says is like, well, yeah, like also the PI that had shot Addison is also dead too. So, because kind of Ben is kind of worried at this point that he'll be the next to be killed. So but if anything, we also come to find that Flint is to be working with Silvermane. So, and let me pause here for a second. All right, so a lot of this is to be that they talk about how also it's like Flint is to work alongside Cat because he works technically for Silvermane, but also Cat is to say it's like like also this building like a lot of people think that it's mine, but it's actually Silvermane, and like the building kind of lives and dies for if people kind of come in and out here or come in and out of here. So eventually they start talking about numbers and knowing a lot of them. They eventually come to like kind of the tail end of this where Caddis asks Ben, it's like, well, are you going to go on? Or are you going to hand me back my money? Or are you going to continue working on this case? And Ben is like, oh, well, yeah, I'll work on this case. So now we have Ben leaving the alcove, and Marco off in the distance, kind of watching him with again his face just kind of all sandy. So Ben makes his way back to his office to be approached by both Perry and Pudge, whatever the other guy's name is. Uh, Pudge. It's weird. And immediately we have Ben that goes on and assumes that these guys are going to beat him up. Because they kind of grab him and he's kind of like, what the heck's going on? So Ben goes on and he does his flip, but nothing happens. So again, that's why I have the question of whether or not Ben has slingers, web shooters, or if this is organic coming from him. Because if Ben would have this organically, he'd be able to just easily go on and just shoot the webs out. But I guess maybe he didn't have his web shooters that day. Maybe that's what this is. If anything, maybe the comics clear that up at some point, but I'm kind of forgetting it now. Either way, like they can rewrite Spider-Man's in a number of different ways for any circumstance. But if anything, I'm kind of getting annoyed now if I can't figure out whether or not that Spider-Noir has web shooters or not. Because you can't clearly see that he has them. there's never a time where they show that he puts them on or that he has them organically. God dang it, I want to try to figure that out now. Anyways, so as Ben goes on and starts to flip here and nothing happens, they're like, "Hey, what are you doing?" And he's like, "Oh, I'm doing Tai Chi." This is kind of funny because eventually, when he goes on and mentions that, he'll re-reference that again when he meets them as Spider-Noir, and he's like, "Yeah, Tai Chi." He re-references it back, and it's kind of funny. So, so Ben goes on and grabs a toaster and throws it at Perry, and it breaks his nose. And he's like, "A toaster, really?" So eventually, they go on and they grab Ben, they throw him into this car, and they explain to him that Silvermane wants to see him. And Ben then goes on to apologize for Pudge's nose, and Pudge is like, "Well, what are you talking about?" It's like, if anything, he's the one with the broken nose. Ben goes on, punches Pudge, and then jumps out of the car, and Ben miraculously is able to get away. The guys go on and they get out of the car. They start to look around. They look around this bridge, and they can't find out where he is. We come to find that Ben is grabbing on to the part of the bridge, and he's just hanging on with one hand. So we would have to assume that this Spider-Man has super strength, because he can just lift his whole entire body. So, but how much strength does he really have? Man, I'm so interested to honestly check out like the the Spider-Man Noir comic books again, just to kind of, but also like, maybe there's gonna be a YouTube video somewhere where it kind of tells me the exact like strength level and power level that Spider Noir has. I'm sure somebody has that information weirdly on there somewhere. Um, so that we all know for maybe the next review. If I don't, then maybe I was just lazy about it. But if anything, uh, maybe it'll be interesting to try to find on YouTube if it has it somewhere. So now we cut back to Mayor Morris here. He's going on and he's trying to win people over. He's doing this speech. At some point, he goes on and he has a sign where he's going to basically end prohibition. And so we have Robbie and we have Ben talking here. And and so they're they're talking about Ben's face, and they're also talking about Silvermane, and they're talking about how Ben's face looks like hamburger meat. Let me pause here for a second. All right, so we're kind of at a point now where it kind of reminds me of like Batman Returns, where Michael Keaton Batman and Michelle Pfeiffer are kind of talking, and they're talking about like the news papers, and like it's a scene where Michael Keaton or Batman's talking about Batman blows it. What, that doesn't even make any sense. And Michelle Pfeiffer is or Catwoman is talking about the details of Catwoman is like, how do these people sleep at night? And this is kind of the same thing here. They're going on and they're talking about what could be the next thing to be for the headline for Morrison doing this whole speech. And so Ben goes on and tells Robbie that he should be one to stop talking about Addison and don't do any more follow-ups to that, because if anything, with kind of Silvermane going on and wreaking havoc upon the town, like if anything, like Robbie could go on and be next to that, or he could go on and be in danger. Robbie's going on and pushing on Ben again to try to suit up here and explaining to him, it's like, well, hey, if any of these people in the town need the spider now, like it's either suit up or die. So Winston goes on to talk to Silvermane here, and we also have Kat that's going on and getting dressed here. Like basically, she's going on and finding new dresses, and she's bringing them to Silvermane. Like, hey, should I buy this? Should I get this? So at one point, they go on and even ask Winston. It's like, well, hey, what do you think about this dress? And he's like, well, I'm not a stylist. I don't know anything about fashion. So as well as also like Winston is just kind of like, yeah, you're kind of just dressing up a doll at this point. So now we cut to Robbie. Robbie is making his way to what looks like a kind of a slum-like area. So Robbie goes on and asks someone where exactly he can head to, and then he follows up on that. Robbie makes his way to this area that has Tombstone in it. And Robbie is to break the news to Tombstone that Addison is dead, and Tombstone didn't know. He was to go on and be like, oh, he's dead? Yeah, he's dead. So Robbie's to go on and ask like if there's anybody that he should be going on and asking about Addison. And Tombstone is like, well, yeah, we should probably go on and follow up on his wife, but his wife won't really care. So Robbie goes on and thanks him, and then he leaves. Uh, so Ben goes on and he makes his way trying to get back to his office, and he finds that Perry and Punch have made their way out of the office, and Ben kind of lingers back off to the side to kind of hide himself or conceal himself. Ben makes his way back to his office to find that Janet was to have gone on and spoken to Perry and Punch, and was to find their office very disheveled. At this point now, Janet is to be completely done with Ben and his private investigation, because Janet is like, well, hey, yeah, like I wanted to help you, but I don't want to die. If 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 her helping her means that she gets killed, yeah, she's not in. She's not in it for this. She's not in it for that. So so Janet goes on and leaves, and we get again a flashback of Ruby who is drowning. We still don't understand what the heck that any of this means. And so Here is where Ben makes his way to this maintenance room and goes to this apartment room and pretends that he is this maintenance worker and that he's there to fix these people's toilets because there's something wrong with it. What Ben is really doing is he's going to this bathroom to break this wall, and he's going to go on and get his briefcase that he hid in this wall to get his Spider-Man costume, or his spider costume, the spider costume. At one point, the two couple that are in the home are kind of like, "Are you sure that he's really trying to fix anything? Like, what do you think that he's really doing in there?" So at one point, we even have Ben that mentions what he's really doing is having an existential crisis. So at one point, Ben goes on, gets his costume. The couple open the door to find that Ben has completely disappeared and a window is open. So Robbie makes his way to, I believe, a doorman and asks where he can go on and find Mrs. Addison. And the guy goes on and explains to go to the stairs up to the left. Robbie goes on and walks off, and then the guy looks at his hand and is like, "Oh yeah, thanks for the dollar." So Robbie goes on and meets up with Mrs. Anderson, and there's a hesitation as Robbie is to say that he's a reporter, and as Mrs. Addison kind of closes the door, Robbie puts his foot in between the door. Here's where kind of the racial things kind of come in for a bit here. Addison says like, "Hey, with a man of your color, should you be going on and should you be hassling me like this?" And Robbie goes on and kind of snaps back, where he's like, "Well, hey, like, uh, with a woman like you that has lobster and designer clothes and all this, um, like, sure, like, if anything, I want to go on and I want you to have as much attention as you can because everybody will go on and see how much money that this woman has." And so Robbie goes on and says like, "Hey, are you gonna scream or am I gonna scream? Because I'm really good at screaming." So, uh, because Robbie realizes that Mrs. Anderson had gotten paid off by Silvermane, and that's how she can afford all these lavish things. So Miss Addison lets Robbie come into her place, and so they talk. Uh, so Robbie looks at Mrs. Addison's face and realizing that Addison is dead and that Mrs. Addison has absolutely no tears for him. And Addison's saying like, "Well, hey, people grieve in different ways." Like, yeah, Miss Addison doesn't really give a shit. So Addison knew, or Mrs. Addison knew that Addison at some point, uh, there was something about him that she knew that if he wasn't coming home at some point at night, that he wasn't going to come back at all. That there was just something that she knew was wrong about him, and So the more and more that Robbie starts to pry Miss Addison and starts to figure things out about Silvermane and Addison, Addison goes on and says like, "Well, yeah, I probably won't scream uh, when you were to have gone on and try to stop me from closing the door, but I'm not exactly going to tell you everything anyways." If anything, Addison had gone to dig his grave and now he's lying in it, for all that Mrs. Addison cares. So now we have Tombstone. Tombstone is making his way to what looks like a closed down movie theater or a stage theater. I'm not quite sure exactly which. Tombstone makes his way to Flint Marco to find that Marco now has his face just still kind of graveled in sand. And Tombstone is like, hey, like, so, like, I guess you can't turn it off and on again anymore, right? So Tombstone is also to tell Marco that Addison is dead. And so Marco is to say, it's like, well, yeah, like, I'm starting to have it more and more where I can't, Marco goes on and explains that the thing had happened against Ben when he fought him. Like, that's the thing where he's telling Tombstone that it happened again, that he kind of lost control. And Tombstone is telling Marco, it's like, well, yeah, I guess the clock is really ticking for the both of us. They'd gone on to mention some doctor, and I don't know exactly who that doctor is. Could it be Doctor Octopus? Could it be any number of other? Could it be just a regular doctor? I don't know any other character that goes by Doctor. If anything, maybe it'll lead to us figuring out who that doctor is to go on and be at some point. But anyways, so here's where we go on, and we have Winston going to the docks to speak with these Canadians, and so Winston sees that everything is on the level, so he calls Silvermane, and now Silvermane is on the way. So as Silvermane is driving with Perry and Punch, all of a sudden Perry goes on and sees off in the distance. Is like, hey, what is that? This is to kind of be very much similar to the scene of from Batman Begins where Falcone makes his way to the docks, and it's the where are you? And he's like, here. It's basically this scene all over again. So like I said, like they're recreating some stuff from Spider-Man, but it also feels like they're doing some stuff that feels very much like Batman in the show. Cause it's kind of copying and pasting and stealing from things that I don't feel is original enough. But also, honestly, if they would have tried anything in this movie, I'm sure I could have probably kind of come up with some way to compare it to some superhero thing somewhere. Because everything has probably kind of been done at this point. So there is no way for me to go on and to be able to just say that that something can't be easily compared and say that it's unoriginal at this point because it's just superhero stuff. Like I could go on and I could have probably compared this to some comic book somewhere, but or also I probably should have compared this a lot more to Spider-Noir, but I just am not. I'm comparing it to movies or other kind of things, just because it's easier for people to get that knowledge instead of referencing the Spider-Noir comic book somewhere because people won't know those references. So we find that the spider goes on and drops onto one of the cars, and as guys start to get their gun out in the front car, the spider just whips him out of the car and then bashes his hand through the car and looks at the driver's like, oh, hello. So Silvermane tells everybody to get out of the car and start firing. So at one point we have Ben that webs the steering wheel and controls it, and then the car flips, and we just see Ben just kind of web off. So guys start to get out of their car, and here's where the spider starts facing off against them. He starts webbing one guy to take his gun and start firing on others. And then at one point, Ben goes on and is to hide, or the spider is died from a guy that's kind of firing from his gun. So Ben goes on. He goes on and shoots his web, and the guy with the gun is like, "Hey, you didn't hit me. You're stupid." And so the guy goes on and like, "Ha ha ha, you didn't get me." So he goes on and he gets his gun ready to shoot Ben or shoot the spider. And the spider goes on and rips the webbing, and we come to find that Ben webbed this radio, and the radio goes flying and hits the guy and knocks him out. So luckily for him. Oh man, we're almost at the end now. Thank God. So, because there is some of this where I'm like, man, I am struggling to figure out what all goes on here. I was kind of tempted to just do one episode, because I knew if I was to do more than this, I was going to have a hard time trying to figure all this out. Because I was really good, I think, in the first episode. Once I got onto the second episode, I'm like, man, I'm having a lot of issues. So, I don't know how I'm going to exactly break this down. I think that the 2 episodes per is going to have to just be good. I knew I was going to have a hard time breaking this down. It's not as easy as other things where I can break down 5 episodes at a time. Plus, also, this is 40-minute content each time. So, yeah, like, it's basically like double, like, the anime episodes are double the. Well, it's not double, but like, well, yeah, well, it's like double like your average anime episode or Power Ranger episode that I've been doing. Plus, like, I feel like the animes and the Power Ranger things are a lot easier to do because a lot of them are very repetitive, whereas like this show is like kind of newer to me. And it's not so easy to break down yet. Eventually, and plus, there's only so few episodes. So that's the thing that kind of sucks. There's only like 8 episodes of this, so it's just like okay. And plus, it's all like the whole season just all plopped down on this day. So like I have to go on and I have to get this done as quickly as I can, but also like I have to see where this goes if people are interested in it. Then yeah, like so it's just a big problem of me trying to figure this out. Um Anyways, and then probably no one will care about this and like, well, this sucks that I spent this time reviewing this. But anyways. So Pudge and Perry are in Silvermane's car, and Silvermane is looking at Perry and Pudge and like, well, hey, go on, you guys go after him. And they're trying to figure out an excuse for who's going to go out there first. So, as Perry and Punch go out there as the spider is taking everybody out, the spider goes on and webs the two of both Perry and Punch out and goes on to knock them both out at the same time. And then he says, like, yeah, Tai Chi. See Tai Chi. So the spider makes his way into Silvermane's car and talks about how it's been a while. And so The Spider goes on and tells Silvermane for him to go on and for him to not go after Ben Riley because if anything, the Spider owes Ben Riley a favor, so he's like, "Hey, don't go after Ben Riley." Shouldn't that have kind of been a dead getaway that the Spider is Ben Riley? But I guess it's like, hey, just take this guy for his word. So, but it was kind of funny how Silvermane was asking, like, well, who hired you? It's like, nobody hired me. Uh, so, so after the whole kind of death threats and everything is to kind of be resolved here, Ben makes his way back to his office and we can kind of tell that like Spider-Man is just exhausted at this point. He goes on and takes off his hat. He takes off his mask and then he goes on and gets a drink. Uh, Robbie is to call him, and so Robbie is now asking Ben if this was him being the Spider, and so Ben confirms it, and so after everything that happened here, Ben goes on to ask himself, what exactly has he done? Because he feels that he's kind of started something, and it'll go on to feeling like he's going to be forced to be going back into being the Spider, forced to go up against Silvermane, forced to basically put his life at risk. And it's also quite interesting how like Ben has had this spider, and by the end of it, he puts the spider on his fingers, and like it's kind of interesting how they don't go on in this show and kind of do the like the Spider-Man into the Spider-Verse thing where it's like, oh hey, I'm I'm Ben Riley. I was bitten by a radioactive spider and and I had superpowers and blah blah blah. Um, like it would have been funny if they would have had some weird nod to that. Um, but if anything, it feels like I think there is a part of me that does kind of want an origin of this character somewhere within the show, and we may not get it, or like I said, we could probably go on and go into Spider-Man into the Spider-Verse and then get the origin of the character there. But still, uh, like I feel like we should go on and get a actual origin story somewhere within these episodes. But again, I'm asking a lot from the show. Like, it only has 8 episodes, but I really want to go on and want like the show to deliver a lot of things because it obviously like people are gonna find that this character is lesser known to them, so you should have a proper origin. You should have uh, a proper explanation of things. Like if anything, uh, like what if people have never heard of where this character has come from? Like maybe nobody watched any of the animated stuff. That's the whole problem. Like it's really to go on and say that uh like there's going to be some people that come from like one wrestling company to the other, and a lot of people say it's like, yeah, nobody watched the other company stuff. Like if this company jumped into the other, like it'll just be new to them, and if it really takes off, it's just because they just think it's cool. um if they want the history of the character, like yeah, they won't really want to go on and want to seek that out. But anyways, so yeah, so like there's probably gonna be a number of people that it's like, what is this Spider-Noir show? I've never heard of it before. And they'll just randomly watch this show and they'll just enjoy it just because it's interesting, but they won't really understand what this show really is, which kind of sucks. Like, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people that just kind of find this randomly and have never heard of like that this is attached to a Marvel property, and they'll just be like, oh, this is some superhero thing, and they'll just write it off as that. Um, but anyways, yeah, like so far I'm liking the show. Like it's kind of you can kind of tell there were certain low points where I was really trying to figure out where to freaking talk about uh, these parts of episodes because I was like, man, there's too much dialogue here. I just want to push through this and get this done. Um, because I was just trying to push to just get this done because I knew, or I was hoping that I could think I get another piece of content done today, but that's not going to happen. Um, but anyways, hopefully this review does something. Hopefully people are happy that I cover this. Hopefully people like, yeah, I watched this show and here's what I felt about it. Hopefully people comment. Hopefully people say something. Um, Either way, I'm hoping to try and squeak this bit of content with something else. I don't think this can happen today. Like I was hoping to either try and get finally done some Mighty Ducks animated series thing done today because I was hoping to get that done so that way I can get that kind of crossed off my list of things. Or either that or I was trying to finally get to Teen Wolf today. Like I was trying to get through some like shows or something that was kind of easy and something that I can kind of push through. But yeah, I don't know if that's gonna happen. Plus, I don't know if I'm gonna be awake enough to be able to get that content done. That's great. That's what sucks about like I didn't do this on purpose where it took me forever to get this content done. Like I thought when I was gonna start this bit of content that I was like, man, I'm gonna get this done quick and I'm gonna turn around and get another piece of content. Yeah, that never happened. Um, there are certain processes of which that I do this stuff that obviously takes a long time for me uh, to get this all done that I wish I could cut quicker. I wish I could, if I just had like another extra. I know that sounds stupid. Uh, if I had an extra device, like if I had an extra like tablet that just recorded things, that just recorded my thoughts or whatever, then I could just use the tablet that I have here and I could use that as just like me just kind of scrolling through all the things that I have, and I could get this done a lot quicker. Because a lot of the time, there's a lot of time taken up uh, from getting this here and me doing this review and me watching the content. There's a lot of time in between where I'm having to look stuff up and doing research and doing notes and stuff like that. So uh like if anything, if I had an extra device, just go on and just do all the cliff noting stuff, uh that would be great. But uh but oh well, like we'll just kind of keep doing this process and hope that at some point I can get it down to a quicker process. But I don't know. I just kind of I feel like I'm kind of set my ways and hopefully that'll change. Like there was times where in the past, I would go on and do this way less in detail. Like I would just go on and I would just kind of clip these photos and be like, oh yeah, I know where this scene is going. I know where this, but like that was, I think, a lot more easier content that I could just rattle off. It got to the point where I did everything easy in the beginning of this. Now I'm getting to more challenging, more new, more harder stuff that I haven't seen like 100 times. Um, so if anything with that, like it's to go on and uh, and be a lot more like challenging to do these reviews, which is it's nice, and then it's also just like, man, like how about I just go on and just review a movie that I've seen 100 times, so that way I can just easily rattle it off, and I don't have to be such a stickler to certain things. But if anything, there is sometimes where I go on and I do like a new release, like severely casually, and I just rattle off anything I remember, and then just call it a review. But and then sometimes those just weirdly worked where people somewhat watch those. But if anything, I think the average amount of click time is to go on and be the exact same for however I do this, so it doesn't matter anyways. Um, I'm sure maybe the shorter videos could probably appeal to anybody, but like I just don't think anything um, could really appeal to anybody specifically, unless it's like 30 seconds or less or something, or 3 minutes or less, um, because everybody just wants like all the bottle of information just all in 3 minutes. I'm like, man, I've tried to do shorts where I've spoken and within them, and I'm like, yeah, there's no way I could do this. There's no way I can want to do this. Um, it just doesn't like it just doesn't feel, because there's a lot of times where I'd go on when I would do reviews, and I feel like I would have to speed talk my way through them, just that way, like, yeah, I got this done really fast, right? Even though it's like still like an hour video or 40-minute video, but I was just like motor mouthing, just like la, 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 so that we can um, hope that the quicker I can talk, the quicker I can say more things, that I can still get it done at a decent time. And it's gotten to a point now where I'm just like, I'm not doing that anymore. I'm not doing the speed talking that I used to do, and that's why these videos are longer, and that's why people are upset for how lengthy they are. And then I kind of go on and do these rambles and these rants by the end of the video. But um, but yeah, I was just so happy about how this project actually, like, I came off of it. I'm like, yeah, I actually liked this surprisingly. Um, but not everybody's going to. There's going to be some people that are going to be like the reviewers or the reactors or whatever. It's like, yeah, man, I'm so ticked off of Marvel. I'm giving up. I'm quitting. Like, this is the project that broke the camel's back. I'm like, really? This is the one? There's a lot of shitty Marvel content. This is really the one that kind of like the one that's not even affiliated to Marvel, the Sony picture thing. That's the one that did you in. Like, look at the Madam Webs and the sequel to Captain Marvels and all that other bullshit. Like, this is the one that's gonna. This is gonna be the one that's the worst thing you've ever seen. It's a show. It's not a movie. Um, if anything, yeah, like look at look at this and then look at like Daredevil Born Again. Like, I can go on and I can say that I've watched Daredevil Born Again the first season, and I'm watching this whatever the second one is, or whatever the thing is right now, the Daredevil things, whatever whichever season it is. I'd watch those, whatever that stuff is. Uh, I don't even know what I'm watching anymore with Daredevil Born Again. That's how much I'm just so enticed by it. Um, yeah, I've watched it, but like it's just a thing to watch. Like, it's not, to me, it's not that entertaining as much as it was. Like, I remember when I first watched Daredevil when it was on Netflix, and I was like, "Ooh, wow." When I'm watching Daredevil Born Again, I'm like, "Wow." Like, I'm just like, how can I kind of stay awake during this show? Even when there's action, I'm just like, thank God there is, because like It's a lot of boring dialogue that's just kind of them just sitting around and being like, "Hey, yeah, I don't like you. Yeah, I don't like you." And yeah, that's the dialogue. That's Daredevil born again for you. It's freaking Daredevil boring again. Uh, that's what it should be called. Um, yeah, like it's like, and I know a lot of people are like, "Hey, yeah, I love Daredevil born again." Great. Um, like I can like I'm entertained by it. I watch the show, but yeah, like it's just not as good as Daredevil to me. And Daredevil wasn't even good past like the second season. After the second season, I was like, yeah, this third season effing sucks. And you're gonna continue off of a sucky third season and Defenders, which a lot of people hated for some strange reason. I think it's because of Iron Fist. Let's just straight up say nobody likes Iron Fist. Everybody hates him for some strange reason. I don't know why. Um, yeah, like so. If anything, like we had Shang Chi, which was straight up like, well, hey, we couldn't get an Iron Fist because no one cares about that character, but we can get Shang Chi and replace him. And honestly, like I don't really think that Shang Chi is ever gonna like. They keep bringing him up and all this like animated stuff, but I don't think they're ever gonna make a sequel of that. I don't think they're gonna follow up with that character. Like I think if anything at this point, we're never going to go on and besides these like doomsdays and all this stuff, like I don't think we're ever going to go on and get like these young Avenger things, and I don't think we're really going to get these projects that like is going to be nothing more than just like, hey, here's the slamming of all these more important characters that we think that you care about, um, that have been a longer part of the MCU, and we're not going to go on and we're not going to all these new characters that we thought was going to carry the MCU is not happening. We're going to go back to the same old well of hey, let's try to bring back the old Avengers one last time again and figure out a way to just uh, to use them because nothing else has worked. So yeah, like I could go on and to have probably reviewed a lot of the later Marvel stuff because I'd gone on to see it, but it wouldn't be positive. That's probably why I tend to just avoid or give up on it. Um, there are still some Marvel projects that I could probably still talk about, like the Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse should probably be a thing that I should probably be reviewing soon. So get ready for that review coming at some point. Um, I am going to review that. That's for certain. Um, I know that there's going to be, I think, a Spider-Man Beyond the Spider-Verse coming, so like justifiable that at some point that the review is going to be a thing that I'm going to talk about Across the Spider-Verse. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 is still something that I'm just like, well, I guess I should review it. I don't think anybody's really gonna care about it. Like, no one really cared about the other two. Like, it's been so long since. I just think that like the third movie, like I think I could thumbs up it, but like I think also that movie really falls apart. Like, there's so much about that movie. I'm like, I don't care about it. The villain don't care. Like Raccoon's story with the animals, it's just stretching the movie out because there's not much else to tell. It's basically just a send off for a bunch of characters that are fighting a villain that doesn't really matter enough to me. Um, but um, I think I can probably still find some enjoyment out of it. Like, it completely ruins Adam Warlock, but anyways. I can find some ways to probably enjoy these projects. Um, it's either that or me just going on and just trying to find generic action films that I hope can squeeze out some bit of views from them. Uh, like I think that's kind of where I'm so tempted to just take this channel and to just let's cover every single action film that was done during the 80s or 90s, um, because that's all anyone still cares about, right? Um, like I was tempted to just do that on the channel, just to blah all of those, because I think that's where the bread and butter is of just doing well is just covering all these action films. Either martial arts or just action, like all those. Like I should have just covered them all. Um, and then I was thinking about covering all of the superhero films, regardless if they're good or bad or whatever, um, because I think they just do well. So, if anything, there's still stuff that I still am not tempted to really cover at this point. Like I kind of gave up on some superhero shows at some point, like Miss Marvel. Uh, there's a number of like superhero shows that were like so long ago, like Gotham's and all these other things, uh, that I probably could go on and still just be like, "Hey, are you interested in this? Are you interested in that?" And see that no one cares, which is completely understandable. Like I think I tried to question people before if they were interested in like superhero animated stuff, and I don't think anybody was. So that's great. Uh, like those are kind of shows that I actually do care about, but no one really cared, which is fine. Um, I don't know. Either way, I'm trying to still figure out where the heck to go next on the channel. That's why there's been days lately where it's all about like what the can I do? Like what should I do? Like even when I'm given answers, like it's not good enough because it's just like I don't think that that's going to be right for the channel. Like I don't think it's going to do well for the channel. And like I also feel like when I go on and I do something that I think a good number of people are to want done on the channel, then I find out that no one watches it, and it's like I can't even trust like I can't even trust that at least somebody's gonna watch something that they voted for. Um, but I'm just like, oh well, like I get it. Maybe it's just like, well, hey, we were forced to choose between these amount of options. Like it was the lesser of two evils, but we really didn't even want to watch that either. I don't know. Like it's kind of gotten to the point where like lately that's why I just kind of chucked a bunch of content out. There's no rhyme or reason for me doing it, but I'm just chucking it out. And then when it does well, I'm just like huzzah! Like, but I'm just like I'm just chucking out content because I don't know any better. Um, or it's just gotten to a point where there are certain days where I'm just like I'm just putting this out because I just content, just chuck it out. So if anything in the future, I think what I will do is I'm just going to start just putting out action films, regardless of what I've surveyed in the past, regardless of probably animes. It seems they're doing well in some capacities, but not all others. Um, I don't know. I think I'm gonna get to a point where I'm just gonna go on and be like, okay, let's Deep Rising will be a thing that I will review. I think that is going to be impactful. It looks like some people were interested in The Abyss also. Kind of tempted to cover that just to get something out there. Uh, I think soon I'll just go on and just start chucking out just action movies, one after the next, just to see if people will be interested in them. Because I think that's what I'm just going to do on the channel is just like I'm going to hope to find the most impactful thing that I can put out there. Uh, like I'd gone on to just check out the Beastmaster because like yeah, like the Beastmaster sounds like a sound thing to go on and cover, and coincidentally enough, the Beastmaster was one where a lot of people were interested in. Like thank God. Uh, so so all these kind of obscure superpower characters, all of these, uh, like I'm hoping at some point that I just finally cover uh this one super absurd project that is huge on YouTube, and that'll just save me. Um, and if anybody could do that, it could be me because I've already technically done that. If only lightning could strike twice for me. If only I could just go on and find the one content or the one piece of content that just saves this channel again. Um, like I think I could be the guy, that guy, to figure that out. Um, I've already gone on and found a number of pieces of content that no one else is doing, and I was the only one that reviewed it. So at this point, I feel that I can somehow narrow it down and get closer to figuring out how I can go on and finally get some impact back into doing YouTube again, and I'll have this more of upswing. Um, like I don't think it's gonna be Spider-Noir. I don't think that this project is gonna be. I'd love to be wrong. I'd love to like have this be the project that everybody's like, yeah, like woo, he did it. Because I know a lot of people like, man, this sucks that this guy probably doesn't do new reviews or new releases. I've done that for a reason because every time I'm to go on and do a new release, no one really cares. Um, like I'll go on and I'll do a new release and I'll see that it gets 10 views. I'm like, man, I probably could have gone on and done a much older content and it probably gets hundreds of views. So why do a new release thing? Um, because new releases just don't do well. Um, I'm better off just taking a gamble uh, on an old thing and hopefully it does well. Uh, I think at this point the channel may just go on and just become like the IP grabber, where it's just like, have I not done Care Bears yet? Because I have a Care Bear onesie, so I might as well just do Care Bears. Um, I know a lot of people hate these ideas, and I know a lot of people like this is dumb, and they might unsubscribe just because of me talking about this. But it's like I don't know what to do anymore. I can't figure this out. Um, even when I think that I'm figuring it out, wrong. Um, even when I think I'm getting some kind of momentum, that stops. Uh, like there's sometimes where I'm just kind of desperate, where I just kind of like, okay, I'll do this content because I know it does well consistently. Um, but also it's just kind of it's frustrating and it's sad that I feel that I also need to trick people into the channel, which is awful. But like for anybody who could probably go on and maybe be upset that I'm having to do certain content, it's because people aren't watching it. What I mean by that is, like, for how I feel that I have to go on and desperately, like, do movies that have a certain kind of skin to them or whatever, it's because people aren't watching the regular stuff. So I then in turn have to go on and just get into desperation mode to be like, oh yeah, this is gonna be the one that gets the views, and then it does. I'm like, shocker, right? Um, but it's all about like, well, hey, yeah, if people would have just gone on and just consistently been watching the channel, or guided the channel more to where there's a more back and forth, to where everybody has their like 2 cents in of where the channel can go, to where like, because I want to build the channel with people. Like I don't want to be the one that has to just either come up with everything, or has to go on and basically um has to do this all on my own. Um like I would love it if everybody's like, well, yeah, like with one voice of 500 people or whatever, be like, well, hey, if you clearly do this thing, that like everybody's gonna jump onto that, um then I'll be like, great. Because otherwise I'm just like uh like I can't figure out a project that reaches everybody. um I can't figure out a one movie that everybody will just all join in on at the same time. Plus, looking at the analytics, it's like I get more new people than I get more people who have subscribed. So that probably says a lot, also. Um, so yeah, like I don't know. I just kind of shrug my shoulders and just like I don't know what to do at this point. Um, like I see this in not a way to try to upset anybody or tick anybody off. Like, shouldn't you know? like, because like I would go on and tout about like, well, yeah, I think I know the movies to get people interested in this, but then again, uh, because I've gone on to always explain that it's like, well, yeah, I got like hundreds and hundreds of thumbnails already prepped and things already, but it's just like people need to watch these things. Um, but again, I'm sure a lot of people will be like, well, yeah, like I'll watch it if it's 30 seconds or it's this or that, and it's da 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 da. I tell people that it's like, you can probably watch the first 20 to or 10 to 20 minutes of it, but well, I don't know. I continue to just kind of throw my hands up and just be like if 500 people watched the first minute of every video that came out, then that would be all that you'd have to do for the day. Like even if you don't like the content, you can just watch it for the first minute and then just lob off after that. But um but I also what's clear is I need to make better choices. So I need to figure out how to best make everybody happy. 500 people, it's going to be easy, right? Uh 500 people that have all their individual tastes and individual likes. Um but I need to figure out how to, yeah, that's the I don't know. I don't know what to do. Uh, I wish I had the exact answer, but if anything, also, I always kind of question whether or not like the people that have all subscribed. Most of the time, I kind of question if they're real people either, because there's sometimes where I'll go on and I'll find out like, oh yeah, this person subscribed, and I'll kind of look into their channel or look into their things, like, oh, is this a real person? Or there's sometimes where like somebody probably subscribed and they're probably really underage, or something like that, and I'm just like, well, fine, okay, whatever. Like it's a sub, right? It's a whatever. Um, I don't know. I'm putting. I'm like, as traditional, by the end of every video, foot and mouth disease is always to be a thing that I always do. But if anything, this time around, and this no, I was gonna say this time around, it's actually the right thing to actually just have a problem with that I just can't figure this out. Um, and like, if anything, also there was times where I was just so tempted to go through other YouTube uh, reviewers and then just look through to see on average uh, what were things that would just consistently pop up, so then I could take that information and reuse it here. But I'm just like, that feels like cheating. Like, that feels like I'm not really putting in the work. And I honestly liked the discovering of, like, oh, people liked this movie, people liked it. Oh, people liked watching, like, it was like unwrapping a present when people would go on and find a video of mine that I just randomly is like, oh yeah, this seems like a good idea to put out right now, and people heavily watched it, and like there was no trickery there, and there was no like. Plus, also like for me, like for the longest time, I would go on and just be like, well, I know so much about movies, I could just be able to figure this all out. Um, because I always had like a list of like, okay, I can do like X number of things. But uh but yeah, like maybe it's not like a because I've gone on to watch like other YouTubers that review stuff. And every once in a while I'd go on and reference it's like, oh yeah, I saw so and so review this, so like I might as well review it because it sounds like an interesting film. Um, but more often than not, I would just kind of randomly find shit and then review it. So I don't know. I'm just or either that or YouTube kind of gives me that. That's the crappy thing about YouTube. I wish YouTube was better at like the whole tag system thing. Plus, also like you would think that it should recommend me tags for like the title that I put in. Like it should recommend like, oh yeah, you should click onto this so that way your video will be seen by more people. Um, like you would think that YouTube would try to do that, considering AI is all the rage, right? And I don't know. I'm talking for too long. This video is going on for way too long. I should get out of here so I can get this uploaded. Uh, because I'll probably not be able to do another piece of content anyways. So I might as well just kind of like, okay, hey, here we are, guys. Here's this. Here's another another dumpster fire review for you. But anyways, I don't know. You can't tell. Uh, I'm just frustrated. Um, as I have a lot of ideas of what to do in the future, but like I don't know if any of them are good. Um, I want to pretend that because I really like to pretend that I will at some point make good choices, but um, they won't be choices that will quickly have me gain views. Like I was surprising how that fitness short, like, oh man, like still doing well with those, but like great. Um, I'm sure there's a good number of people that probably wanted to tell me off for the 80th time doing the fitness shorts because yeah, there was a lot of times where I'd go on and do those fitness shorts where people would always just have this trolling thing to say, and I'm like, great, like because I would just see it as comments, and that's all I saw it as. But like they just kept coming, and I was like, you know what, like it's kind of getting annoying that I keep getting these notifications just for people trolling me. Um, so it got to a point where I was like, you know what, enough is enough. And it kind of upsets me that, well, like, I guess since I'm still early to this, or I'm still new to this, even though I've done this for such a long time, like, just imagine if you had millions or you had a million. Yeah, right, that never is really going to happen. I don't think I'm good enough to get a million. Um, I'd have to spend like what, $1 million to have this set up to look like $1 million, so people would be really interested in it. I should be like a Jacksepticeye or a Ethan Nestor or something that goes on and is to have them complain about how YouTube isn't doing well. So just imagine that, like, the low on bottom feeding small scale of me just trying to scrape by every day um, with the content I put out. Um, so yeah, so it's like it's interesting how a lot of YouTubers will go on and say is now a good time to do YouTube, and I think for me, I would probably say what it depends. I would probably say for most people, no, it's too much work. Uh, Even for people that they think they can do well because of their looks on YouTube, the problem is that they also have to be knowledgeable about YouTube, like the algorithms and the thumbnails and the everything. And they have to be somewhat of an expert on something. Like they have to do endless amounts of research on something. Like that's like for me, like that's why I completely just stopped doing the whole gaming thing because like I didn't care enough about gaming to want to do the research to find out what the popular whatever game is. I didn't care at some point. I'm like, I'm just a guy that cares about movies and shows, and I felt like the whole gaming thing was me just pretending to be somebody I really wasn't. Whereas when I'm to go on and talk about movies and shows, that's the guy that I really am. Like doing the whole gaming thing was just me um just having something to do. The gaming thing was also kind of easy most of the time. Well, if I could record the gaming content, then yeah, it's really easy. Uh, but it was also just like I feel like I'm pretending being somebody than being who I wanted to be on the channel. And right now, it's like I'm being who I always hoped I'd be, but I guess I'm still not good looking enough. I hate to bring it to everybody. Um, I'm still not good looking enough. I've kind of let myself go lately, so that's not helping. Um, but like lately, like I feel like I've gone on to finally be who I've always wanted to be. Um, from the person who of which that before I started this whole YouTube thing, I was so quiet and I was so reserved and like I was nowhere near the person that I am doing this. But yeah, but I am the person who I've always ever wanted to be. But it's just the thing that I'm a person that no one really wants to be around. It seems. Uh, but maybe I could be wrong about that. Maybe I can be completely wrong about that. Or maybe I just haven't found my well, like if people watch this video, then like those are the people that evidently want to be around me. But it's just um, or it's just the random people that just find this video and like, oh hey yeah, Spider-Noir. Why is this almost 3 hours long? What an idiot. Um, yeah. So I don't know. Like maybe I'm at my own existential crisis, just like Nicolas Cage. Because yeah, I can't figure this out. Um, I don't know. This is way deeper than a Spider Noir should honestly be. But like at this point, like I don't really like a lot of these videos. It's just like nah. Like I'm just gonna put this out and just see what happens. Um, I'm just trying to figure these out every day. Um, hopefully, uh, like we have some lethal weapon stuff that I'm hoping will go well. Um, I'm just gonna try to figure out some more action films that eventually will come out. Um, at some point, I should probably just look through my movie collection and just siphon through any action or supernatural thing. Like, do that, blah. Like I think I did that at one point, and I didn't really see anything that I could really use. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I should just siphon through it again and just find if there could be anything that could be worthwhile. Uh, but yeah, with that said, I'm gonna get the heck out of here so I can go on and upload this because it'll be 4 hours long, I'm sure, and people will not care about it. So, thank you for watching this. I'm gonna try to figure out how I can go on and be better at this channel. Even though I got 400 views off of a short, uh, I don't know. That's gonna be a quick flash in the pan at some point, right? Uh, if this somehow does good numbers, I'd love to come back to it. It won't do as well the next time around, um, but I hope it does well enough. Um, hopefully, at some point, it's kind of funny because like there's a lot of people that'll go on and they'll say exactly uh, like, hey, if you don't get comments, if you don't get this, you'll die. As far as the YouTube channel, I have what hundreds of videos at this point now, and most of them don't have comments on it, except for there's some where it's like where they where it's all just like troll comments. But even that, like there's like 55 comments that all just said corrected me about this one spelling of this one name. That did not shoot the video to do better than another video that had 0 comments on it. So, if anything, like there are guys like not to throw this guy into the bus. There's this guy out there called James Romero that he used to go on and talk about uh, how a certain thumbnail needs to be done the same certain way, and he goes on breaks down YouTube and how he says like, yeah, nobody should go on and do multiple different things, that it all should be just one theme and whatever, because you're kind of doing stuff that that people don't want. And yeah, he's successful, so he should be right about everything. But I think too that if anything, if you're just doing one thing and then you're saying that things aren't doing well with that, what is that telling you? That you need to change, that you need to adapt or die. Um, I go on and honestly, I go through um, and I just review everything because at this point, I'm just like, I just hit it big with that one video, and I'm like, okay, I'm kind of done after that. Um, but I'm still working on trying to find something that is close to uh, that one kind of topic, like that. Like I'm always trying to find what is the top trending things um, for this platform, and I'm hoping that I'm just gonna stumble upon that one day again and be like, huzzah! Like, luckily I did this show or movie or thing. Um, and honestly, in current day, it's harder to figure out what that is because there's so much content everywhere. Uh, I really could go to like the bigger, more massive shows. Like I could go on and do Sopranos or Friends or whatever the heck. I could probably do The Simpsons and it'll probably do well. But because I know that Simpsons was a blip on my radar when I did gaming before, but I don't know. Like I feel that also like I want to do something that I will feel not forced into just doing it, because that's what I feel kind of some days, where I'm just kind of forced to do content, and that's why I'm just like flinging it out like blah, instead of really caring about putting the video up. Or there's some days where I just completely give up on doing videos because I just don't care, because it's just like it feels just like a forced endeavor sometimes. Like I'm not getting to it naturally. I'm just being forced. So I don't know. It's just I'm gonna turn this off. 3 hours. No one's gonna care. So please complain about the length of this video, because I don't care that you complain about it. I don't. But complain about it anyways. Troll me and hurt my feelings because I don't care about you doing that. It's a comment. It helps the video anyways. But please comment anyways, because it actually helps the video. Hopefully people will find this. Hopefully people will watch a portion of it. Hopefully people will go on and finally decide to help this effing channel. And instead of having me figure out how to do videos every single day, hopefully there'll be somebody that goes on and we can just freaking decipher how we can go on and be able to better do this. I hope that happens someday. Um, because I can come up with 100 ideas of what video to do next. Um, but how do I narrow all those 100 down? Like that's, or some days I'm just like, that's why I kind of give up on some days where like I have 10 ideas in one day and I can't figure out how to narrow them down because I don't know what's best for YouTube. So that's why I give up on some days. There's some days where I throw in the towel. I'm just like, I don't know what to do. Blah. Um, like there's some days where I just hate YouTube. Some days where it's just like where I can't figure this out, and I just get so frustrated and so angry. I'm so upset. But uh, but yesterday was such a good day where all of a sudden I was banging out my workouts. Everything was going super well, and I was so happy. Um, and I'm not upset today. Like I'm just frustrated that I can't um that I just clearly can't do this well because I just sabotage myself. I do a 3 hour video. Um, anyways, I'm gonna get out of here. Goodbye, buddy. Bye, buddy. Thank you for watching this.